Hi, I'm Pearl Howie, and this is Freedom Part 1. So, this is a big subject, right? And an interesting concept right now. As we speak, this is Easter Saturday, I think it's April the 11th, 2020. And what an incredible time that we're going through at the moment. And I was talking to a friend yesterday and we were just saying, we still keep thinking we're going to wake up and find out that this was just a dream. Because it's such a strange time and something that none of us have ever been through before. And, you know, we all really need a lot of compassion for each other and for ourselves right now. And I've been doing quite a lot of videos and Zoom classes for Zumba, which has been lovely to see people I haven't seen for years, and some Facebook classes on writing, and I've been doing some little videos on the challenges that I've been facing locally here, and trying to share that in a way that hopefully helps other people, either because they're the people who are doing this kind of thing or because other people are experiencing that as well. And yesterday I kind of realised something that I know, but then I realised it, which is that, you know, what I've really been teaching for a very, very long time is about freedom. But sometimes we call this by another name, we call things by another name. So for a very long time I used to say that what I taught was escapes. So it was Pearl Escapes, you know, and I would teach things that were really cool stuff, you know, so it would be a book or a hotel or a massage treatment or something that was just amazing, something that was just wonderful. And then I started packaging them up into little mini guides. So you had the hotel, the spa, the way to get there, the restaurant, you know, the thing to see and do. Apologise if it's a bit noisy. I've opened all the windows because I just love the fact you can hear the birds singing, and I thought it was quite nice. Please let me know if you don't like it, and I'll maybe close the windows for the next one. So there I was, teaching this, teaching that, and I still was thinking, well, what am I actually teaching? What am I actually teaching? And, you know, I suppose asking the question that most of us ask: who am I? What am I? What's the point of my existence? What's the meaning of life? What is it to love and be loved? All the big questions that I'd always been asking, because I guess, you know, I've been asking all those questions since I was very small. Maybe because of some of the things that were happening when I was a kid, you know, that there were some very strange things happening in my life when I was younger. And, you know, maybe one of the reasons was like, well, what am I doing here? You know, what am I doing on this planet Earth? You know? And I think those are the questions that a lot of people are asking right now. And I think they're really great questions to ask. But sometimes we ask those questions and we can get lost, you know. But don't worry, because I'm really, really good at getting lost. And I've come to realise from all the travelling and exploring and doing things that I've done is that that's a great gift. You know, as an explorer, it's actually a really good thing to be able to go and get lost. Because that's how you come back and you find yourself. And actually following the plan, following the schedule, following the idea that you had at the beginning, the 5-year plan, is a great way to end up somewhere that you wanted to be 5 years ago. And it might not be right for you anymore. But if you keep getting lost and you keep having to like find your bearings again and say, what am I doing? What's going on here? You know, you can moment by moment and day by day get yourself to the right place, you know, mentally, physically, spiritually. So, as I was saying, one day I went to a lecture with a teacher. She was a business teacher, and it was the second time I'd been. And she said, had all these like different, her name is Lucy Whittington, she's very good. And she had all these different like exercises that you do in the class. And I was there and I went, oh, what I do is I help people feel alive. Isn't that great? I help people feel alive. I was like, wow, that's what I do. And everything kind of made sense under that banner. You know, I help people feel alive. It's great. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm on this planet for. I know what I do. This is fantastic. And it was great because it was like, you know what? I'm still going to carry on doing all the massages, all the teaching, all this and that and the other, because that's what I do. And then I can help other people do it. And that's so fantastic. That's great. So I carried on doing that. And I carried on doing that. And I was doing some writing. I was doing this. I was doing massage, doing all that. Carried on. And I went to a spiritual retreat. And I went to a place called Phoenix, and I had an amazing healing. And in that healing, I suddenly was like, whoa, you know, I suddenly had an awakening. I understood things in a completely different way. Came back to England and I wrote a book about it. I wrote all the things that I had been thinking and all the ways that I had kind of been blocking myself off, all the ways I had been kind of saying I'm this or I'm that, or I have to do this thing that way, I have to do that, you know, all these rules that I had put in my head. And I wrote this book, and it's called Free, Feeling Real Emotions Every Day. And it's funny because that book was kind of it's a cornerstone of what I do, because it is about constantly evaluating what's real and what's not, what's true and what's not, and how do I feel about it. And in that moment I said, well, you know, what freedom really is, it's about being able to feel our real emotions every day. And it's about being truthful about what we feel, but also being able to work through those emotions, because sometimes what we're feeling isn't actually truthful. It's, you know, and that's what we often find with emotions, that there's a mask going on, and Don Miguel Ruiz often says that sadness is fear with a mask, anger is fear with a mask on. And when we go right down into that fear, we discover that there's just endless love. So there is all ways of working and learning, and very big, deep questions about why are we here, what are we doing, what's the point of our existence, all those big questions. And I was like, wow, I've discovered everything, and I know everything, and I'm free, and nobody's going to put me back in my box anymore, and I felt so amazing. And then what happened was my life fell apart. Everything changed, everything went wrong, and I had to sell my house, and I decided I was going to go, and I was going to travel, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do whatever feels right. I'm going to spend whatever money, whatever time, and I'm just going to go and do, whatever my heart calls me to do. I'm going to give myself the freedom to do that. And I hope it doesn't hurt too much to hear this, because obviously that situation I was in is very different to where I am now and where we all are now. And what I want to tell you is that I gave myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to create this freedom. I'm going to create this sense of I can go anywhere I want, I can do anything that I want. And it was terrifying. This thing that so many people think they want, and they think, this is great if you could, and all the things you want to do in life, but I can't because I don't have the time, I can't because I don't have the money, I can't because, whatever background I am, I can't because people like me don't do things like that, I can't because I'm working class. If you're England, really, get over it. Anyway, so here we go. There's still a class system in England, trust me, it's around. Anyway, so we go through this thing. We'll come back to that in another edition. So there I was, and I was like, right, I can go anywhere I want, I can do anything I want. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. And one of the things I would say right now is, very often you'll hear this, and there is a great degree of truth to it. I won't say it's completely true. That your fear is not your fear, it's your ego's fear. So a lot of the fear that we feel is related to the ego, the person that we've, the self that we've constructed, the person that we think we are. So as we kind of free ourselves from the way we've structured our lives, what we've told ourselves we can do, what we can't do, it's terrifying. because there's a reason we didn't do those things before. It was because we were afraid. Now for me, what I discovered, so many lessons I learned, but one of the biggest lessons I learned, I went to an amazing place in Mexico and I studied with the Don Miguel Ruiz, Jose Ruiz, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. and the rest of the family. And we went to a place and we did a process of coming to a place of really being truthful and understanding what lies we had built up in our lives. And I really understood and felt that the biggest block I'd had was about allowing myself to be a writer. Now at that point I had written and published maybe 11 or 12 books, but I had really done it the hard way. I had really struggled. I struggled so hard with it. And in the moment, when I freed myself, or rather I saw, how I'd been putting myself in a box for all those years, and how scared I was of actually speaking, how scared I was of actually writing, And I decided, that it was easy, because I just went, that's my biggest challenge. My biggest challenge is to be that kind of artist, to write and to do, because I just got so much that I want to write, and I've got, so much beauty in the world, and there's so many things I've experienced, and I want to write this down. And so I focused on doing that, and I kept saying, I'm going to sit down for a couple of months in one place and I'm going to write a book, I'm going to finish writing this book I'm writing. And every time I went anywhere, I couldn't stay. There was a reason, it was too hot. It was, I'd gone somewhere that used to be cheap and it was massively expensive, and I couldn't afford to stay there for like a month. And then I was like, well, you know what? Really, I need to keep travelling while I'm writing, because, I'm telling myself I have to go and live somewhere for a month to do this, but actually I've been writing as I'm going, and actually that's kind of working out for me. So let's do. So what else do I want to do? Oh, okay, I want to go and visit some whales in Mexico, and I went off and I did that, and it was, everything I was doing was teaching me about love and teaching me about, and when I say about travel, I think what I'm really saying is what we need, because every day I was making a decision about where do I want to, what kind of bed do I need for the night? Can I stay in a single room, or do I need a double bed? Could I stay in a dormitory, or do I need a private room? Do I need my own bathroom, or can I share a bathroom? All these questions every day. And some days I needed to go and stay in a really, really nice place, and some days I could stay somewhere very basic. And how was I travel? Would I travel on a plane? Would I go this way? Could I rent a car safely? All these different questions. How much do I need to carry in my rucksack? What can I let go of? What do I actually need? And these were all questions that in the end were kind of ways of freeing myself from who I thought I was and what I thought I was capable of. How I thought I had to live in order to be spiritual and be a spiritual student or teacher. Where I thought I needed to be in order to write. And all these things kind of just kept being dropped, I kept leaving them like a trail behind me of all these things. And so I carried on like that. I've written a lot about it. And to sort of get to the end of that writing journey, the last book that I wrote, because this book's turned into a series of books, was a book about fear of success. And I suddenly realised, as I was exploring that and writing about this book of fear of success, it's actually quite funny, because last year I went to a business training, again with this same teacher, Lucy Whittington, amazing teacher. And I went there and I sat there, in this dress actually, and I sat there and I went through this training, and we were talking about all these business things, and I was like, what am I doing next? Where am I going? What am I doing? What am I doing? And we got to the end, and we sat there, and it's very useful because people were asking questions. I was like, writing the margin, yep. And people would say something, I go, nope, that's not right for me. Or something else, yep, done that, yep, nope, done it, nope, done it, nope. And we got to the end, and it was sort of like, this is the time for us all to share and to kind of, talk about here's what we do, what we need, really kind of work with each other. And I said, I feel like I really need to learn about fear of success. You know, I need to I feel that that's my block, you know, this fear of success. And everyone in the room went, that was it. And there was nobody said, yes, I know a great book. Yes, I know a great teacher. Everyone went, yeah. Next person. I was like, okay. Oh, right, didn't get that, you know. And of course, a few months later, I realised that, you know, I thought, you know, I'm going to start bringing all the research and writing about this, because when I write about something, I tend to, you know, explore it and discover it. And as I was doing it, I suddenly realised, whoa, I'm the teacher. I was like, everything I've done, all the travelling, all the writing, everything like that has been going through fear of success. All the massages, everything, you know. Even fear of success about getting fit and having a healthy body, all those things. So I said, oh wow, that's great, I'm the fear of success teacher, and I've written a book about it. And really, fear of success is fear of life. It's fear of living, it's fear of doing what we want. Because I always, you know, my version of success, what I call being successful, is being truthful and authentic and being alive, feeling alive. So, in a way, you know, I'd written all these books, and then yesterday, when and I've even written a book called Free, you know, I was sitting there and I was listening to a really great teacher, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr., and he did a very short, like 10-minute Instagram live on, really some of the stuff that we had covered before in different workshops and trainings and books. And as I was listening to him, and this is one of the great things, if you're a student and you work with great teachers, there'll come a point when you see that you teach things differently, you understand things differently, and now is your time to go and be the teacher, because there are people who are going to understand your way of doing things. There are people who are going to understand how you move, how you teach, how you speak, in a way that they could understand these people who you thought were, you know, the world's best teachers, who were my great teachers. And that's okay. You know, great teachers are not just great teachers, they are training great teachers. Great teachers. So, in that moment, as I was listening, I thought, you know something here? I'm listening to him talk about the 4 agreements and the mastery of self and mastery of love and the voice of knowledge, all these great books that really helped me so much, and these trainings really helped me to come from that place where I was. But we're talking about personal freedom. And as I'm hearing these words, I can also hear how these words can be abused. I'm also hearing how you could twist these words around. And that's so important right now. It's so, so important right now. Because when I go onto Instagram and I go onto Facebook, I see people who I have been following because I liked some of the things they were saying things in a way that to me, personally, is really dangerous, or ugly, or judgmental. And they're talking from their perspective. And they're teaching what they're teaching. And it's completely wrong for me. I disagree with them. And that's not a bad thing. Because there are a million paths. And in travelling, it's not, you know, if I talk to somebody and I said, I remember when I was in Mexico and I said to this guy, I said, oh yeah, I'm going to Hawaii. And he was an American guy, he goes, Hawaii sucks. I'm like, cheers love. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah. And I thought, well, maybe your experience of Hawaii sucked. Maybe you went to a hotel that wasn't right for you. Maybe you went to an island that wasn't right for you. And I did. I went to Hawaii, and I had actually one hotel that really did suck, and then I went to a different hotel, and that was amazing. And I learned I learned a lot of really amazing things in Hawaii. I was only there for a few days, but it's a very powerful place, and it really rocked my world. So different teachers are right for different people, and the way that we teach is right for different people. And it's easy, even if you're the greatest teacher in the world, the greatest teacher in history. And this is very appropriate as we're coming up to Easter Sunday. Even the greatest teachers in the world can have their words turned around on them. And I wanted to do a training yesterday with a meditation teacher and somebody who I really like and respect, you know, kind of somebody I'm a bit of a fan of, you know, who's a famous person. And I was like, oh, I really want to do this. And I went to go and book onto this training, and some of the language and the way that they were talking about structuring and booking it, I just went, it's not right for me. And when I went back and I was reading, you know, stuff about these teachers, and I was thinking, you know, I kind of really want to be part of their gang. I want to go and study with these people and be part of their gang because they're really cool, and I'm like, I want to be friends with them, and I want to, you know, like, that would be really cool. And I'm like, no, but they've got it wrong, you know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm like, that's not my cup of tea. It's not my cup of tea. And I was reminded very powerfully of, because they were talking a lot about different styles of Buddhism, and Buddhism in the West and the East, and Zen and Vajrayana and Vinyasa, you know, all these different big words for, you know, thinking. It's all just thinking, right? Just ways of thinking. Don't get confused. And I remember this session that we had. He always makes me laugh. It's Khenpo. I've got to get his name. Khenpo Tashi Phuntsho, or Phuntsho, depending on how you pronounce it, in Bhutan. And I've written pages and pages about it. We had this 1 hour with him. I've written pages and pages about it in my book called Truth. It's a very good book. And he just sat with us, you know. We've been all to the monasteries and the Buddhist monasteries and the nunneries and the temples and everywhere. And we sat with him at the end of this amazing journey. And he taught us so many things, but the big thing he said, meditation. Yes, he said. You people in the West, he said, you shouldn't do it because you can't do it properly. You don't have a clue. You get it all wrong. And he really made me laugh, and I understand exactly what he's talking about. And any practice, any practice that we have in life, we can use it as a tool to find truth and to make ourselves happy, or to heal, or we can use it to hurt ourselves, to abuse ourselves with. And so writing's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful healing therapy, and it can be so cleansing and so great and so useful. But we can use it and create a kind of a rule book that makes us always wrong. You know, that we're never good enough. We're never good enough. We're never a good enough writer. We're never a good enough author. We're never good enough for anything. And so we can use those things against ourselves very powerfully. And we can use, you know, looking outside and thinking, you know what, I'm not as cool as this person, I'm not as cool as that person, you know, I shouldn't be teaching because I don't look like them. It's really easy to do. But as I was listening to Don Miguel, who is junior, yesterday, it hit me that I have a lot to teach about freedom, and that all my books have been about freedom, always. And so I just felt this is something I need to teach. And if you understand and you get it, that's great. If you don't get it but you enjoy listening to it, that's great. If you want to speak to me, if you want to do one-to-one classes or a group class, you know, message me, talk to me. I'm a beginner. I'm a beginner teacher. I'm always a beginner teacher. I always want to know what you think. I always want to know, you know, if this is getting across. When I teach Zumba, and Zumba Gold, and Zumba Gold Chair, and Zumba Kids, and Aqua Zumba, I have my students right in front of me. I see them. And I can see if I'm teaching it in a way that people can understand it and get it. I can see that. But sometimes they enjoy it more when they don't get it. Sometimes they just enjoy it anyway. That's okay. But it's easier for me to see when somebody's having a problem. And doing it like this, I can't do that. When I write a book, I can't do that. You know, when I teach a class physically, I can see the moment I've lost people. And I can say, hey guys, you know what, let's do that song again. Hey, let me teach this a different way. Hey, let me try something new. I can't do that here. So I'm in your hands. You have to teach me how to teach you. And I hope that at the beginning I remembered to ask your permission. I asked your permission for me to teach you. And if I didn't, I really apologise. I'm still a beginner. So I want to teach you something now, if I may. And I hope that, you know, when I've explained about freedom and where I come from in terms of teaching this, what I've learned is that I put myself in a position of really great deal of freedom. And even before that, I had a great deal of freedom because of my nationality, because of my skin colour, because of, you know, I had some money that came along, that was good. Being able to speak in a way that most people around the world who speak English can understand me, you know, without a terribly strong accent. Being able to see, being able to hear, you know, having two legs, having two arms. Yeah. So being able to do things in a way that other people might not be able to do. But I would not say that that is freedom. Freedom was the battle that I had in my own mind, setting myself free to go and do that. And right now, you know, being restricted by, you know, financially restricted, which I'll come back to, and not really being able to go out, I still have absolute freedom. And you have absolute freedom as well. And one of the things I've experienced when I've been going outside is I'm coming up against a lot of people who don't respect social distancing rules, safe exercising, essential exercising rules, and people who are sort of pushing against those things. And that's not freedom either. One of the things that drives me nuts is I spent a lot of time taking my brother to hospital. And in the last couple of years, things have changed around the hospital. And it used to be that out the front there were areas where people could smoke. And of course people come out of the hospital and they don't go to those areas. They would stand in front of the building and smoke. So we were trying to get into the hospital. You know, so brother's sick, I'm trying to get in, we have to go through all this smoke. And they kept changing the rules, because then they said, okay, well, you know, really go over there, really, you know. And it's sad, it's like parking regulations. A lot of times people have to get a parking ticket before they understand. And one of the reasons I believe that we're having such difficulty in the UK and in the US is that we have some idea about what freedom is, what liberty is. It's funny when I talk to my friends in Paris, because liberté is one of their cornerstones in France. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Freedom, equality, brotherhood. And they have adapted so quickly, even in Paris, which is not a city that likes rules, you know. But they've adapted. And people respect the quiet, they respect the rules, and they're working together. They're working together. And I think there's a difference with something that we're experiencing in the UK and the US, that we believe that if we can't go somewhere, that means we're not free. If we can't do everything that we want, it means we're not free. And that's not true. It's not true. The freedom that we have an absolute freedom in terms of, and this is why it's going to be a series, because it's hard to put into words sometimes. But I want to teach you about freedom. I want to show you what freedom is. And I think the best way is an example and a story that I want to share. And I wrote about this a lot in my book called Courage. So I wrote about this in detail, and I'm going to shorten it up. So as I mentioned before, I study massage. And so my last book on massages has got over 500. It's not just massage, it's therapies, it's types of healing, people, places, everything. And one of the things I hear from a lot of people is they're scared to have a massage. It's expensive. I don't want anyone seeing my body. I don't want anyone touching my body. I'm scared someone's going to touch me inappropriately. But the big one is that people are scared to be quiet and still for an hour. They're scared, and I understand this, scared. If I go into it's funny because when you go to the East and you experience, or you know, really great massage places, is that the massage is part of a healing. It's a healing. So we know that the mind is present. You know, it's not just lay your body down and work on your body. No, it's a mind, body, spirit experience. And it is very much like going into meditation, because it's that quiet and that stillness. And so when you're laying down in a massage, a lot of people are scared of an hour of silence. I'm going to be silent for an hour. Just a little tinkly music. And they're scared of their mind. They're scared of what their mind is going to do in that hour. Okay? And I understand that, because as much as I love massage, and as many massages as I've had some real moments of truth during massage. And I wanted to talk about this one, and I was in Bangkok, I was in Thailand, and I knew I wanted to go and have loads of massage, you know, loads of massage in Bangkok, because it's the home, and I had loads of massage. And I went to the Wat Po temple, and I had massage in my hotel. But this one was different. And I went to a place, I think it was the Peninsula I went to. It was an amazing hotel. You know, it had its own boat that went across the river to pick you up. It was pretty nifty. It was amazing. And I chose this. It was like a 2-part massage. So I chose this 2-part massage. And the first part was like an hour body massage and a bit of face, I think. And then the second part was what's called Shirodhara, which is the Indian massage. It's Ayurvedic massage. And in this, what happens is you have oil poured onto your forehead. And so it works with what a lot of people call, you know, the third eye. It's this chakra point, very powerful. And now I've had it before. I had it in England in an amazing place called Jivita Ayurveda in North London. Remember that for when they all open again. You know, it's a great place. And I also had it in Croatia, but it wasn't really Shirodhara. It was very, very good, but it wasn't Shirodhara. So I went to this incredible hotel, and I had booked this dream massages, these amazing massages. And so I went, and I was, you know, it was beautiful. It was the most beautiful spa with the heat rooms and this, and the woman was... And the second this woman came out, this therapist, the massage therapist, I took again her, you know. I decided I didn't like her, you know. And I got cranky. It got really, like, itchy, you know. And I had been travelling around Southeast Asia, and I had had a lot of experiences, a lot of triggers, a lot of things were going on in me. And I walked into this massage room, and nothing was right, you know. She annoyed me. Didn't like her energy, didn't like the music. Didn't like, she kept giving me things to smell, you know, the oil. Don't like that one, don't like that one, don't like that one. Okay, well, I'll have that one then. Didn't like the bed, didn't like the room. I started to feel like, oh, this air in here is bad for me. Oh, I don't like this oil, it's making me feel sick. Everything's horrible, everything's bad. I feel, oh, I don't like this, I don't like this, I don't like this. I just can't wait for this to be over. Oh, I wish I could go. Of course I could go. I could have gotten up, I could have walked out the room, you know. But I'd paid a lot of money and it would come to this amazing hotel and oh, I can't more, no, and it'll be so embarrassing if I get up, and oh, I don't like the way she's touching me, oh, it's too hard, no, it's too soft, oh no, it's just, oh, I'm going to give her a bad review, oh, this is terrible, I don't like this, oh, I don't like this, I don't like this. And then the power went out. Can you believe it? I'm in this amazing 5-6-star hotel in Bangkok and the power goes out. Like, I'd just come from Sri Lanka, places like that where the power goes out, you know, because it's a poor country and everything. Here I was like, oh my God, you know, I'm paying for this rubbish, what's going on? And then finally she finished that bit and I was like, oh, thank goodness for that, what a terrible job, why did I come here? Oh, this is dreadful. I feel like, oh, and everything was going in my head, you know. Then she started doing the Shirodhara. And she poured this oil. And the oil came down and it touched my forehead. It's like, bing! And it all fell into place. And I saw the truth. And I was like, I've been having such difficulty with the poverty in Southeast Asia. I'm struggling with how bad I feel for all these poor people and how hard it is, and this is just destroying me. Ding! It's like, no, you're not. You are struggling with the memories of your own poverty. I was struggling with remembering how it felt for me when I was a little kid and I was poor. The smell of the oil was Christmas. It was pine. And it was reminding me of all the Christmases when I felt really poor. When Santa Claus didn't do a great job. And it made me feel bad that I wasn't a good kid, that I didn't deserve good things. And I've written about that as well. And, you know, my mum did the most amazing job with us. She really, really did. You know, I just think she's such a hero. But in that moment, the truth of it hit me, you know, and very often we look at things in the West and the East and this culture, that culture. And I tell you right now, there are some people that will tell you that, you know, we have it easier, we have it harder, this and that and the other. If you are a little kid at school and you're the poorest kid in school in England, it is tough. If you're the poorest kid in school in Sri Lanka, it's tough, you know. And if in England somebody's bullying you because you don't have a new phone, it hurts. Especially if you're young and you're a kid and you don't really know how to respond to these things. And if you're over here and you're in Sri Lanka and a kid is bullying you because your lunchbox is pitiful, it hurts. It hurts. But there are amazing spiritual teachers in the East. They have many amazing teachers. So I don't think they need me. I think the people who need me to teach this are in the West with the challenges that we have over here. And they're the same challenges and they're different challenges at the same time. That's the paradox of life, you know. So we have a different problem in that the challenge may be being bullied for not having the right phone, or your parents don't have the right car. I remember seeing an advert recently when the parents were, you know, it was the kids are embarrassed at school because of their dad's car. And this was an advert to get you to buy a new car. This is the kind of thing we need to look at. But in that moment, in that massage, I had felt that I couldn't handle it. I had felt all kinds of discomfort and rage, and I was so angry at the situation, even though I had chosen that situation. I put myself in that situation. But what came out of it was truth. What came out of it was, Pearl, that really hurt, and you have a hard time being poor. You have a hard time remembering what that felt like and how that hurt, and you have a hard time putting away your pride and asking for help, and you have a hard time with all of that. But it's okay. It's okay, and you can heal from that, and there is no shame in poverty. We sit here and it's Easter Saturday, almost Easter Sunday, and we had one of the greatest teachers in the universe come to us about 2,000 years ago to teach that it's not about how much money you have. And yet we're still struggling with that battle. We're still fighting the fight of feeling ashamed of poverty, ashamed of being poor. And so the truth is that we are not how much money we have. We know that. We are not the kind of car that we drive. And in this moment of this terrible crisis that we have and everything going wrong, a couple of weeks ago I sat down on a Saturday and I applied for benefits. I applied for Universal Credit, and I cried as I did it, because that's the first time I've ever had to apply for benefits since I was on them when I was a kid, when I was a student. And my mum always did the application forms. My mum did my grant forms, not me. And I had so much pride in that I always supported myself, and I've stood on my own 2 feet, and it wasn't true anyway, because, you know, I had so many other benefits, you know. I've had to accept help in other ways. I sat down and I cried as I filled out the forms. And afterwards I felt such relief. I did, I felt such relief, and I thought, you know, it's not just relief in that I've asked for help. It's not just relief that, you know, at some point I may get some money from the government. I faced up to this fear. I faced up to this shame that I felt. And guess what? I'm free of it. Maybe it will come back sometime. Maybe I will look back differently on this. But right now I just feel the freedom of having said, I can't cope. I need help. I need support. So I've faced down that fear, and I've asked for help. And I've also asked, when I've been teaching my Zumba classes, for people to pay me. And I've put it in my notes. I've said, you know, pay what you can when you can. But I'm poor. I am the needy, you know. And I know that I am so lucky, and I am so supported. And I have a lovely home. I have a roof over my head, enough food to eat. I will have healthcare should I need it, God willing, and God willing I don't need it. I have medicine downstairs that will get me through. I have my phone, I have communications, I can sit here and teach a class. I am richer than I was than I have been for many years of my life. And so I think, you know, one of the things... Sorry, I just had a moment there because somebody's doing something weird outside. These are the dangers of teaching class with the windows open. So this is a long subject. This is a big subject, freedom. And the question is what imprisons us? What stops us from being free? Physically, mentally, spiritually, and altogether, because it is altogether. There is no separating those three things. We can look at them separately, but they're just dimensions, just sides of the same triangle. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning of a series of videos about freedom. And why we struggle. You know, we struggle to free ourselves because we've got used to walls. And at the moment we're pushing against and striving against new walls, new regulations, new things like that. And we have to really question and ask ourselves if we can come on board with those things. Can I adapt? Can I switch to, it's okay that I can't do this for the moment? If I get on a plane, I have to follow the rules. If I go to a new country, I have to respect and honour the rules of that country. When I travelled and I had all that freedom to go anywhere and do anything, it was wonderful. I still had to respect natural rules. I still had to respect the rules of the country that I was in. But it didn't make me any less free. And that's something I really want to try and teach, because the word freedom is so, I mean, look, how much do I've spent years learning to be free. And it's not about somebody telling you, you can't go here, you can't go there. If you believe your freedom is whether or not you can go into the supermarket, you haven't understood the concept of freedom. I will go a different way with this in a second. My greatest teachers about freedom have been people like Nelson Mandela, who was in a cell for 22 years. I think it's 22, might be wrong here, sorry. So what can you learn about freedom for somebody who's been locked up? I think the answer is pretty much everything. And if you need to study deeper, you know, there's so many books that I've referenced and I've talked about in my other books, and I've bought my books, so many. But I will tell you one thing, and I don't say this in support of anything or anyone or nothing political or anything like that, but it's really about understanding that there is sometimes when we're physically restrained, but it's those times when very often we grow and we learn more. And it was actually Archbishop Desmond Tutu, I want to talk a lot about them in my books as well. But he said, you know, that when Nelson Mandela was a young man before he was put into prison, he had a lot of beliefs and ideas, but when he came out, he was this person who had evolved and who had learned so much, and who was respected and loved by all of the guards, by so many people. And there are so many quotes, so many amazing quotes, and they're all written in my books, you know, about Nelson Mandela. And as he spoke about oppression, and he spoke about so many things, and that we need to have freedom from being oppressed and being the oppressor. So there is a double freedom to be had here, people. There's a lot we've got to learn. So much we have to learn at the moment, and we're in a great place to learn right now. And I'm in a great place to teach, so I'm gonna. And I hope you enjoy this series about freedom. I'm gonna check the time now, because I want my glasses on. Okay, we're coming up to about 15 minutes, and that's what I wanted to do today. So if you have questions, please ask, please ask. I'm going to be doing other classes and workshops with other people. We're going to be talking about freedom from anxiety. We're going to be talking about freedom from body fascism. We're going to be talking about all kinds of freedom. And the most important thing is that when we find freedom, we find truth. When we find truth, we find freedom. And they're so connected, you know. And so I encourage all of you to go and do research and look at, you know, what's true about our current situation. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. There's all kinds of theories and ideas going on, but please, 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 I'll say one thing. Remember that you are free to choose how you think and what you think. If you have been a fan of one person, like I was a fan of this actress. I was a fan of this actress, and I wanted to do her class. I really wanted to do her class. And then I was just like, no, don't believe that. I don't believe what she's saying, and I don't believe the way of they're doing things. So I have to let that go. I'm still a fan. I'm still a fan of hers. But it's like somebody being in a film that, you know, I became a fan of this actress, but I don't want to watch that program. I don't want to watch that film. Sorry. And so sometimes we get attached, and we're seeing very much at the moment a kind of deterioration of celebrity culture and influencer culture, and the idea that we buy something just because somebody tells us to do that. And I will go back to Don Miguel Ruiz because I'm still a fan, you know, but I've studied with him a lot. There are still things, I don't buy all their books because they write a lot of books, but there's a great one called The Fifth Agreement. And it's funny, when I heard this the first time, and I don't think I'd read the book, and I didn't really know about it, and it's like there's a lot of books that are kind of this system and that system, and 6 ways to do this and 7 ways to do that, and obviously the very famous and excellent book, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I read that again recently and I'm like, no, don't agree with that, no, I don't agree with that, no. I changed my thinking. But somebody said, oh, there was something knocking it, and they'll go, oh yes, it's 4 agreements. It's 4 agreements. And oh yeah, there's 4 books called the 5 agreements, like they discovered this other agreement, you know, it was like very cynical, which is actually really good. Because the 5th agreement is be skeptical but learn to listen. And I think that's just so powerful and what we need right now. And we need to really examine everything that's being told to us. It's the freedom of thinking. You know, right now, be free to think exactly what you want to think. You know, but then respect, even if you don't have the same belief system as somebody else, respect it. Going back to when I was in Bangkok, I always remember there was a day, and I went in my hotel. We had a boat as well. We were quite a posh hotel, so we had its own boat. And so we went to get on the boat to then go up the river Bangkok to temples and this kind of thing. Actually, no, it didn't. It just took you to the main station for the boats, and they had to get on the local boat. It wasn't that posh. So. And we were going to get on the boat, and now Thailand is mainly, is it a Buddhist country? I think so. Yeah, Theravada Buddhism. And so, and actually, the time I visited was during the year following the king's death. So the whole of Thailand was in mourning, and Bangkok was very different. Everywhere there was black, people wearing mourning, and people were, lots of bars, I think, were closed, or, you know, every single waiter was wearing full black. I walked past a Zumba class, you know, once outside, and everybody was wearing black. For a year they wore black out of respect to this king. And so it was a very interesting time. It was a very beautiful time. And also when you went into the temples, you had to take your shoes off, and you had to cover your shoulders. I can't remember if you had to cover your head or not. But they had they used to have a rail of robes that you would give people as you went in. And there were all these rules about, you know, being quiet and doing this and that, being respectful and dressed. And generally speaking, they would say, you know, cover down to your knees, you know, cover it. I think we all write like this kind of thing, you know, but maybe a bit longer skirt. And I went to get on the boat, and all the tourists, all the English and American tourists, all standing there. And there was this woman, and she was wearing, you know, these tiny, tiny shorts, and this sort of string, and she wanted, string little top, you know, like basic. I think she was wearing a bikini top, and she was getting to go out into the village and the local. And I remember looking at this woman, and I just thought, it's like you're trying to prove a point. You're trying to like disrespect the culture. You know, you're disrespecting the local people here when you walk around like that. I mean, I don't walk around in England like that. I've walked around Florida, I've walked around Key West in a bikini, you know, no problem. Because it's Key West, you know. But there's a thing about respecting the community, you know. Even if it's your hometown and this is where you've grown up and these are what you're used to, and you think, respect your community, please. You know, none of us live, you know, without our community. But what's my point? I'm losing it. Anyway, Be Skeptical and Learn, but Learn to Listen is the book, and I want to finish on this. So it's actually very interesting, because when I finally read this book, I had actually understood the history of it a little bit, and it was so beautiful, because Don Miguel Ruiz is an amazing teacher. He has two lovely sons, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. and Don Jose Ruiz, who are also great teachers, and they teach very differently, and I love the way that they teach, and I learn from both of them so much. And what happened was, Don Jose Ruiz he had heart problems, and it's very interesting when you hear him speak, because this is somebody who had the thing of being lacking in freedom because of a physical problem. So, and I think when we think about freedom as being able to do this and that, sometimes we all have an illness or a disease or a problem in our body which kind of restricts us and stops us from being able to do things. And it's a very interesting experience to go through that, to not be able to do the things that we want to because of our physical, because of our body. And very sadly, he had a heart attack and he was in a coma. Now, this training, the fifth agreement, which is Be Skeptical but Learn to Listen, was something that he had tried to teach for years. But people just weren't getting it. It wasn't coming across. And what was quite interesting, and I hope I don't step on any toes if I share this, what I've read and I've heard from them speaking, is that when Don Jose Ruiz went to visit his father, and he said, he was very ill, and his father sort of gave him some instructions. He said, don't cry and don't make a big deal, because I've lived a great life, and don't listen to everybody who blames you if I'm ill. Don't listen to everybody who tells you you've got to do this because you're my son, or that you have to carry on my teaching. You have to make up your own mind. You have to do what you're doing. And then his father went into a coma. And one of the things that Don Jose Ruiz did in that time, when his father was in the coma, is he thought, well, what do I want to do? And so he started to teach the fifth agreement. He started to teach it to everybody who he could. And so he was doing this training that his father had kind of given up on training, because it was the fifth agreement, because nobody was getting it. It was too difficult for people to understand, which is why it was just the four agreements. So he was teaching, this. And when his father miraculously recovered from the coma and was able to come out and see what was going on, and he saw his son was teaching this thing that he had given up on teaching, even though he's an incredible teacher. And he said to him, wow, this is amazing what you're doing. You're teaching this thing that I gave up on, I couldn't teach. He said, well, how are you doing this? How are you teaching this thing? What's so amazing? What's going on? And his son, Don Jose, said, I'm just teaching it. Some people get it, some people don't. But I'm teaching it. And the more people got it, the more people got it. As people were starting to understand it, they were starting to be able to get it. And I'm guessing, would get better and better as a teacher. So that's an incredible teaching. Be skeptical, but learn to listen. Do your research. Look outside. Think for yourself. Have freedom of thought. If I can teach one thing in this first one is really, the beginning is to think for yourself. To think freely. And to question everything. To question everything that you are telling yourself. Question everything the world is telling you. Listen, and then choose whether you want to believe it or not. Too much at the moment, I got to end with this. Too much at the moment is people following a path that they have been following a teacher that they have been following advice that they have been following, without stopping and checking, stopping and kind of looking across the road and checking to see, is this still true? Do I still believe that this person is my teacher? I love all my teachers, I honour all my teachers I've had, but some of them I have the moment I have to look at them and say, I don't agree with you, I don't believe you, and I don't think that you really understand what's happening right now. Or maybe they just see it differently, and that's okay, because, you know, if we teach truth and we speak truth and we really take the time to listen and to connect, then we will, if we teach honestly and from a pureness of spirit, we're not going to just be repeating what other people have told us. We're not just going to be, and again, it's so important that we're not just copying anything that gets sent to us and just being a kind of a speaker. We don't want to be a loudspeaker for somebody else. No, no, no. We need to listen and then decide what we truly believe, decide what we think is true. And if we wake up tomorrow and we see things differently and we change our minds, that's okay, that's great, isn't it? You know, we are free to think, we are free to form our own opinions, we are free to disagree with other people. And it's so important that we respect other people's opinions and beliefs, but we also know the difference between honouring our community and following the rules, you know, that we're beginning right now in order to try to support and protect our communities. And it's important that we understand that even if we don't have a personal choice about one particular thing, that doesn't mean that we're not free. If you are made by law to wear a seatbelt, even though you don't agree with that, I'll tell you this, I was in France once with a guy driving a car and he wouldn't wear a seatbelt. And we got stopped by the police, and the police made him put his seatbelt on. And they gave him a fine. And they said, fine, I'm going to take my seatbelt off again now because you've already given me a fine, you know. So I've already paid the price for not wearing my seatbelt. Fine, I'm going to go now. Policeman went, no. He said, you start that car, you go down there. He said, I'm going to stop you again. I'm going to give you another fine. And if you go another yard with your seatbelt off, I'm going to stop you again and I'm going to give you another fine. Because the law is that you have to wear your seatbelt, even if you don't agree with that. And these are